What is going on? Welcome back to Financial Journey. We got the 2024 Annual Shareholder Meeting underway. It's going to be kicking off in around 9 minutes. Probably this is only going to be around 15 minutes. These aren't long meetings. Just to give you a quick overview, they're just going to do quorum initially, so to ensure at least 66 and 2/3 of the shareholders did vote, and that they have sufficient votes and everything else. And then, yeah, basically they'll get right into these proposed items. So there is these. So 1 through 4. And so first one's directors, second one is to ratify the accounting firm. Number 3, on an advisory basis, the compensation of our named executive officers. And number 4, second amended and restated 2021 stock incentive plan. So yeah, it is what it is. I'm personally good with proposal number 4, and so that's the stock incentive. I think the only touchy one that people might care about is proposal number 3, and that's the compensation. But beside the point, it is what it is. They got slideshows, or they got all the fun stuff right here, so it looks nice and neat. I think in the past shareholder meetings, they didn't really have things working, so at least they fixed that aspect. I got the ticker at the very bottom left as well, just in case. You'll see how the market reacts to any of these approvals or I guess rejections. So I don't anticipate any of it getting rejected, because you have the PIF and Lucid hopefully in line with the same mentality. So if anything does get rejected, clearly we know that there is a big red flag happening, and maybe the PIF is a byproduct of that, or I guess the cause of that. So like I said, I anticipate everything to go smoothly. But yeah, any questions, anything like that, let me know. I'm going to try and follow along to the best of my ability. Actually, to be fully honest, I don't think I will have to follow this. So this is the definitive 14A, has all of the things. Hopefully you guys read a lot of this prior to voting. So this is the only touchy one, proposal number 3, in my opinion. But because of this working right here, I think that they will actually have their slideshow, because this is their slideshow that's available on, or I guess the website. So I think they actually will be having this. So if their slides don't work, I'll be quickly going over here and keep bouncing over to this right here. So page number 7. And so essentially CEO pay, this is the base pay, not counting stock-based compensation, 6.8 million. And then annual, or I guess median employee did earn 137,000. That's pretty good, actually, mind you. Of course, there's opposite spectrum. CEOs kind of on the higher end, and lower level employees are lower, but still on average 137,000. That's not all that bad. So the payout ratio is about 50-1. So they are saying that's kind of consistent with the average company. I don't really pay attention to other companies all that much as far as the compensation ratio. So again, that's something that might be the only sticky one that is on there. It goes over the compensation for 2021, 2022, and 2023. And yeah, total shareholder return. That's interesting. Well, I guess, yeah, that would be, so that's if someone invested $100, what their return would be, or I guess what they'd be left with. So yeah, Lucid clearly has not been performing all the best based on the stock. But then again, I think all of us generally know that. If you guys haven't voted, I believe that you can actually vote up until the meeting does conclude. So what they'll do is they'll do the intro. They'll give you last minute opportunities to vote on these 4 proposed items, and then they're going to close the window, do quorum, and then blah, 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 move forward. So just listen to their background music, good old classical music, very classy. But yeah, stock at least is somewhat flat / green today, so it was a positive thing. The Odd Society, yep. here for the long haul. The only thing I was going to bring up, I don't know if anyone is able to confirm this or anything, but I guess Trump did say that he's going to be blocking EV sales. So that would be quite the twist if that is true. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that or where that did come from. But yeah, aside from that, I'll give you guys a quick overview of things in the last 3 minutes before it does start. Again, don't anticipate a lot of fun activity because of these earnings or shareholder meeting. But short-term returning 145,000 shares today. Utilization 97.41. And yeah, cost of borrow average has been somewhat maintaining. Looking right here, you do see institutions probably not getting in as much as probably people would anticipate, but there's a lot of fears that's floating around today. So it's kind of a good thing that Lucid is green and holding up. So the algos are really helping it. And so again, as I always do during my shareholder earnings as well, I'm going to mute myself. You don't need to listen to me while they talk. It should be starting in around 3 minutes. And then, yeah. So good old Lucid. I don't know why even though it's not crazy of a green day and that big of a gap, it's always positive to see a deviation from Tesla. Whenever Tesla is red and Lucid's green, it just gives me this warm, fuzzy feeling. So yeah, agenda rules, I'll go over that. If on a side note, if anyone does have any questions, you could either just submit them yourself, or if you do have anything, feel free to put them in the chat and I can relay that and pose any potential questions to that or to them. I think I've posed questions in the past and they haven't answered them, so there must be someone going through them just to see if they are relatable to these 4 topics, because you can't just ask, hey, what's up with the stock price today? But yeah, the first 2 I don't think are that big of a deal. Some people, in all honesty, I know I said the only touchy one is point number 3. A lot of people do generally care as well about the directors because they each have a big say in technically where the stock moves and what they do. But I've never really been one to overly care about that, because going into everyone's history and everything, like, it's not that big of a deal. And I think the only thing that Lucid has really lacked in is just ramping up, and that's, I think generally they have a good technology, and so their directors, whatever. So yeah, you can always read into every single background just to see if they are a good or not a good fit. But I've never been one to overly dive deep into that. So you got Lisa, Andrew, Sharif, if I'm saying that right, Nichelle, Shabby, good old Peter Rawlinson, and they are starting right now. Maybe not. The music
Good morning.
stopped.
I hereby call the meeting to order. My name is Peter Rawlinson.
We're going to quadruple the size of this plant.
This complex adds 2.85 million square feet of world-class EV manufacturing capabilities. This will be the new home for Gravity, our luxury SUV.
Good morning. I hereby call the meeting to order. My name is Peter Rawlinson, and I am the Chief Executive Officer and Chief Technology Officer of Lucid Group Incorporated, and a candidate for election as Director. Welcome to the 2024 Annual Meeting. Welcome to the 2024 Annual Meeting of Stockholders of Lucid Group, which is being held in an all-virtual format. I would like to thank each and every one of you for being a loyal stockholder of Lucid. First, I would like to welcome our new Director nominee, Lisa Lambert, as well as the current members of the company's Board of Directors who are standing for re-election, who are joining me today. I would also like to take this opportunity to thank our outgoing Director, Glenn August, for his service to Lucid. We also have a number of company officers here with us. Matthew Everett, the General Counsel and Secretary of the company, will serve as Secretary of the meeting and record the proceedings. He has delivered an affidavit of Equiniti Trust Company, the registrar and transfer agent for our common stock, which states that on April 25th, 2024, Equiniti Trust Company mailed the notice of internet availability of proxy materials to the company's stockholders of record as of the close of business on April 10th, 2024, the record date for the meeting. This affidavit is available if any stockholder wishes to examine it, and a copy will be filed with the minutes of this meeting. Matt will now discuss the procedures for transacting the business of the meeting.
Good morning, and thank you, Peter. An agenda that outlines the order of business for the meeting has been made available. The matters on which the stockholders at the meeting may vote are: 1, to elect the 9 nominees to serve as directors until the next annual meeting of stockholders and until their successors are duly elected and qualified, subject to earlier registration or removal. 2, to ratify the selection of KPMG LLP as the company's independent registered public accounting firm for the year ending December 31, 2024. 3, to approve on an advisory basis the compensation of our named executive officers as disclosed in the proxy statement. 4, to approve the amendment and restatement of the Lucid Group, Inc. Second amended and restated 2021 stock incentive plan. And 5, transact any other business that may properly come before the meeting. The agenda and rules of conduct have been posted on the online meeting site. The meeting will take place as described in the agenda. An opportunity to raise questions and comments will be provided after voting on the proposals described in the proxy statement. When the report of the Inspector of Election is complete, we will announce the results.
Thank you, Matt. I hereby appoint Angela Stewart of Equiniti Trust Company as Inspector of Election for the meeting and any adjournment or postponement of this meeting. She has signed an oath to act as Inspector of Election, and a copy of this oath will be filed with the minutes of this meeting.
The inspector has the stockholder list of the company as of the close of business on April 10, 2024, the record date for the meeting, which shows the stockholders and their respective number of shares entitled to vote at this meeting. This list is electronically available on the online meeting site if any stockholder wishes to examine it, and a copy will be filed with the minutes of this meeting. Quorum is present at the meeting, so I declare the meeting duly and lawfully convened. The meeting is now open and ready for business. First, however, I remind you that if you have already voted and do not intend to make any changes, there is no need for you to cast a vote today. Your vote will be counted automatically without any further action on your part. Any stockholder present who has not voted or who wishes to change their vote may vote at this meeting by using the voting link. It is currently 9:07 Pacific Standard Time, and the polls have opened. You may vote at any time during our discussion of the proposals on the agenda. The first item of business is the election of 9 directors of the company. The proxy statement made available to you earlier listed the company's nominees for the board of directors. I would now like to introduce to you the company's current directors and director nominees nominated by the company's Nominating and Corporate Governance Committee and Board of Directors. 𝗪𝗓𝗓𝗧𝗛, Director. Lisa M. Lambert, Director Nominee. Andrew Liveris, Director. Sharif Marikby, Director. Nichelle Maynard Elliott, Director. Shabi Nouri, Director. Peter Rawlinson, Chief Executive Officer, Chief Technology Officer, and Director. Ori Winitzer, Director. And Janet S. Wong, Director. In accordance with the bylaws of the company, stockholders are required to provide advance notice of their intent to nominate candidates for directors. Such notice must be received by the company by January 25, 2024. No such notice was received. Therefore, I declare the nominations for directors closed. A motion to elect 9 directors, as described in the proxy statement, is now in order. The board of directors recommends a vote in favor of each named nominee. The second item of business is to ratify the selection of KPMG as the company's independent registered public accounting firm for the year ending December 31, 2024. The selection of KPMG is discussed in the proxy statement that was made available to you earlier. At this time, I would like to recognize Scott Stelk from KPMG, who has worked on the audit of the company's financial statements for the year ended December 31, 2023, and is with us today. A motion to ratify the auditor appointment, as described in the proxy statement, is now in order. The Board of Directors recommends a vote in favor of proposal number 2. The third item of business is to approve, on an advisory basis, the compensation of our named executive officers. The compensation of our named executive officers is discussed in the proxy statement that was made available to you earlier. A motion to approve, on an advisory basis, the compensation of our named executive officers is now in order. The Board of Directors recommends a vote for approval, on an advisory basis, of the compensation of our named executive officers. The fourth item of business is to approve the amendment and restatement of the company's 2021 Stock Incentive Plan. The proposed amendment and restatement of the company's 2021 Stock Incentive Plan is discussed in the proxy statement that was made available to you earlier. A motion to approve an amendment and restatement of the company's 2021 Stock Incentive Plan is now in order. The Board of Directors recommends a vote for approval of the amendment and restatement of the company's 2021 Stock Incentive Plan. Now we would like to pause to review questions that we have received. We have received a question concerning proposal number 3. Will we be able to vote on CEO compensation? Proposal number 3 is the vote to approve, on an advisory basis, the compensation of our named executive officers. Information can be found in our proxy statement, and the board recommends that stockholders vote for the proposal. I now declare the polls closed. I understand that the votes have been counted, and the preliminary report of the Inspector of Election has been delivered to the company. The preliminary report of the Inspector of Election indicates that 𝗪𝗓𝗓𝗖𝗧, Lisa M. Lambert, Andrew Liveris, Sharif Marikby, Michelle Maynard Elliott, Shabi Nouri, Peter Rawlinson, Ori Winitzer, and Janet S. Wong have been elected as directors by the stockholders. Each candidate received more than a plurality of the votes cast at the meeting. Ratification of the selection of KPMG as the company's independent registered public accounting firm for the year ending December 31, 2024, has been approved by the stockholders by more than a majority of the votes cast at the meeting. The approval on an advisory basis of the compensation of our named executive officers has been approved by the stockholders by more than a majority of the votes cast at the meeting. The amendment and restatement of the company's 2021 Stock Incentive Plan has been approved by stockholders by more than a majority of the votes cast at the meeting. I hereby request that the final report of the Inspector of Election be filed with the minutes of this meeting.
I'd like to close by saying I've never been more optimistic about the future. We are intently focused upon sales volumes, and we're seeing momentum. In Q1, we outsold Porsche Taycan for the first time ever here in the US. We outsold the Mercedes-Benz EQE and the EQS for the third consecutive quarter, and also outsold the BMW i7 as well as the Audi e-tron GT. More people are recognizing just how awesome our products are. Now, in fact, I was at a customer event just last week, and the word is really spreading. Customers are eagerly awaiting the Gravity SUV program, and the anticipation is palpable. The factory is also moving closer to readiness for the Gravity SUV. I was just in Arizona last week, and it's happening. The robots have moved in, and they're currently being trained ready for their task in hand. These are the machines that build the machines. These are our long-term investments for growth, and you see this in our financials. And the very key is growth, getting to higher utilization of our factory by expanding into the much larger SUV market, and then on into the even higher volume mid-size segment. Volume is a key to improving our margins, and I'm driving this focus strategy to get us there. Lucid also has the very best EV technology in the world, and I believe this has now become very widely recognized. Indeed, Aston Martin was the first OEM to sign an agreement, and we're in discussions with others to use our technology. But let me tell you, there's a lack of understanding of the true power of our technology and the importance of efficiency. Because our technology is so superior, there's a misconception that it must surely cost more. This is simply not true. Our technology is in fact the enabler to lowering the cost of making an electric vehicle. While others are focused on techniques such as gigacastings to save what might be at best hundreds of dollars per car, I'm focused on saving thousands of dollars per car. Because what is the biggest single cost of making an electric vehicle? It's the battery. Our technology enables a vehicle to have a smaller battery while still offering longer range than many of our competitors. Let that sink in. A smaller battery, but more range than our competitors. And this is very important for customers too, because this results in literally the most sustainable vehicle with an added benefit of a lower total running cost. And we're going to continue to push the technology envelope. In fact, I think we will be able to get to 5 miles per kilowatt hour this year, which is well ahead of the timeline which I had originally envisaged we could achieve. And let me be clear, this is on a legitimate EPA cycle. This represents an example of our growing gap against the competition. And a very big part of this will be software. Through an over-the-air software update, customers will be able to wake up to an even more sustainable car than when they went to sleep. Our clean sheet approach to vehicle design is what makes this possible, and very few are capable of doing this. And unlike many, we're capable of updating a very large percentage of the car over the air. So please stay tuned. We have some very exciting things ahead in 2024 and more again in 2025. So with groundbreaking innovations on the horizon, unparalleled dedication from our team, and your steadfast belief in our journey, I've never been more optimistic about the future. My sense of mission and my dedication are unwavering. I have not sold a single share of stock except what was necessary for tax purposes. And so I'm directly tied to the company's performance as a shareholder because I believe in our future. My promise is to continue to work tirelessly day and night to deliver more cars, to sign more technology licensing and access agreements, to drive down costs, and bring the Gravity SUV and mid-size programs to market. We're driving forward. I'm all in, and I sincerely appreciate your support along this important journey.
Okay, That's abrupt, but
best SUV in the world into production. We need to ready the vehicle, and we need to ready the facility.
All the most challenging things you can throw at a car in a cold environment, we've got in one place here.
We are coming here to validate the aerodynamic performance of our Gravity.
We are now vertically integrated, where we can do everything in-house here in Arizona.
This is the scale of investment that we're making here at Lucid for the long term.
The way you interact with the car and the fun that you get from it is becoming a Lucid brand value, really.
Gravity is the electric, go anywhere, do anything vehicle.
We're hugely excited about bringing the very best EVs in the world to you, our customers.
Okay, there you go. So yeah, pretty good stuff. I feel like near the tail end, he gave a little bit of an Easter egg that they're in talks with someone. Clearly, I think based on every indication out there, it is Hyundai. Someone did ask if it's in Pasadena. So it is still in Pasadena up until June the 16th. So definitely take a look at that. Yeah, Gravity is going to be a kick-ass thing for Lucid. And it's kind of funny. So I think I've pointed this out in the past, but the whole Aston Martin rumor actually did surface February of 2023. Then it took him about 6-7 months to actually disclose that. Same goes for Hyundai. That was kind of being rumored around, I think, starting beginning of this year. So probably we'll find out September officially during the Q2 earnings once they do cover that. So I think that's gonna be a kick-ass deal and really give Lucid some pretty good, much needed revenue. But yeah, nothing really crazy. In case you missed it, all 4 proposed items was approved. So nothing really speculative or anything like that. I did pose one question. It would have been nice for them to, I think I asked it too late though, so that's my own fault. But it was when they talk on right here about the proposed items, going over to the CEO pay, it says the median salary is $137,000. It'd be nice to know, because they talk on the CEO, which is kind of the high end, but realistically, what does the average lower employee typically make? Is it like 40, 50, 30? Like, it'd be good to at least know that, because I know that's one thing that was more of a negative, at least reviews, at least in, I think it was early 2022. A lot of people were saying that, like, I guess in the surrounding area, there's warehouses for Walmart and several others, and they were saying that Walmart pays more than Lucid. So it just didn't really add up. So that would be would have been a good kind of point to know. But yeah, came in line with, yeah, you're right, EMAS. He did say others. So it could be more than Hyundai. Because in the Q3 earnings, sorry, Q4, one of those two, he did say OEMs, and I don't think he was talking about Hyundai at that stage. So one thing that I found interesting though, because he must get hate a lot, right? And I think he's pointed out in earnings, he pays attention to social media, and one thing that people was bashing over is him selling stock, whereas logical investors know that he hasn't actually sold any stock. I'll give you a good overview of what I mean. So this is all insider transactions for Lucid. Oh, no, that's not working. So these are all the insider transactions. He's not lying. He hasn't actually sold any that's not for tax purposes. So this is every single transaction he's ever done since, looks like, early 2022. So he's sold a couple times or several times, but all transaction code F, meaning for tax purposes. So it's kind of an interesting point that he felt justified to bring that up, because I don't think any other earnings or anything he's ever brought up that he's a investor and he believes in the company and things like that. So I kind of found that off topic, but still, it shows that he's actually paying attention to people out there. Yeah, you're right, Derek. Honestly, I thought that review, if I'm saying 𝗪𝗧𝗧𝗧, if I'm saying that right, I thought that would have propelled Lucid stock so high. But yeah, it is what it is, right? Lucid, I think at this stage in the game, everyone knows now Lucid is just a long-term investment. Price action doesn't always correlate with what's happening operationally. Don't get me wrong, it's frustrating to see Lucid just be flat or down, but there's a lot of external points that is happening. And yeah, Lucid's green right now. Other EVs are red, so a win is a win, even though it is somewhat minor. So yeah, let me know your thoughts about these earnings or about the shareholder meeting. Are you surprised by anything? And yeah, take a look at the chat. Ahmad, 100% naked shorted. Yeah, I know it's heavily shorted, 27.62%. But yeah, it's crazy. So every week I do a top 5 most heavily shorted EVs. And for the most part, Lucid has either been number 1 or number 2. And it's kind of funny. Every stock that's like basically been number 1, non-Lucid, is like those companies are heading towards bankruptcy. Lucid, on the other hand, is like credible. It's always boggled my mind. I always think that it's whoever's shorting Lucid has some vendetta against the PIF. That's the only justified reason. Someone literally does not want, I don't know. And one telltale thing is during American holidays, or what was it? I think it was like not a stat holiday, but it was just a general holiday that typically you could tell that people just took off. Volume was like 1/10 of what normally happens, but Lucid was being massively heavily shorted, and every other stock that normally is shorted, there's no activity. So I think that is a clear sign that whoever is shorting Lucid is not from the States. Could be from Canada, because I know our laws are fairly loose when it comes down to shorting, such as RBC, TD, and a lot of those big banks. Or it could be coming from Europe. But yeah, no, definitely this is a very interesting thing. Garrett, PIF, or Tesla? Ooh, that's a tough one. Ghost 1632. So the early 2022, that was a very common thing that was brought up. Why did Lucid start off with how they did? And I know I've said this quite a few times. There was actually a recent interview with 𝗖𝗪𝗡𝗘𝗖𝗧 that I posted under my dedicated Lucid channel, but he actually did explain that during a podcast. He said that they wanted to build and kind of set themselves up to be known as luxury. And at the time when they were preparing, I think in like 2020, I guess at the time sedans were hot. Since obviously they started to invest in AMP1, which made it for configuration purposes ideal for the sedan, like that's where I think the rise of demand in SUVs started to go up. So I think it was just they were taking advantage of what was hot at the time, and clearly based on the R&D that they've done in the past, Gravity was still kind of up in the air. Like we knew about the Gravity, but even up until, when was it, like 6 months ago, they didn't have all the supply agreements in place for the Gravity. I think it was only like 70-80% completed. So I think there was a lot more work for the Gravity. So I think that's why they went the sedan route. You know what, like looking price action wise, it sucks, but I think it did really put Lucid on the map. Like for instance, 𝗪𝗧𝗧𝗧's recent review. So he did one on the Air, and now recently the Sapphire. Like Lucid's, like we wouldn't have gotten the halo car of the Sapphire if we would have went the Gravity route. Although there's probably going to be different versions of the Gravity, but yeah, you know what? At this stage in the game, I think Yeah. Don, Sammy is driving. I think you said that early on. Yeah, Ahmad, I've heard a lot about that as well, Lucid and 𝗖𝗧. And this is why 𝗖𝗧 on Twitter, I've had a quick chat with him in the past and I posted that, but I absolutely love his map that he likes to show. I'll try and quickly find it because, yeah, it kind of shows exactly how many possible deals there could be. Okay, so highly suggest you guys following Saudi Bey on Twitter or X, but he always posts this one chart. I'll quickly scroll until I find it. But this is kind of the umbrella of under the PIF. So potentially, you're right about 𝗖𝗧, and this is where you do see 𝗖𝗓𝗡𝗘𝗖𝗧. Oh man, he hasn't posted in a while. All right, I'll give it one more minute. There we go, found it. Okay, so umbrella on the PIF, this is where I've said in the past, speculative. It could be Polestar again, but you have the Aston Martin deal. You have 𝗖𝗧 under the same kind of extension. You have 𝗖𝗓𝗡𝗘𝗖𝗧, so that's probably going to be announced later part of this year. 𝗖𝗧, and through 𝗖𝗧 you have Foxconn. So Foxconn could also be utilized for massive ramping up. And this is where, even though their only connection is really through Geely for the most part, but Lucid and Polestar. So Polestar has the ability to really ramp up, and Lucid has the significant technology. So I think there could be some partnerships or just strategic partnerships where one helps the other, because obviously with the whole Aston Martin deal, it's just one-sided. Aston Martin gave stock and cash in exchange for obviously the technology, right? It could be other way around where another entity could really help Lucid ramp up on production, get costs lower that way, and then Lucid just provides the technology. It could be a tit for tat that way. But yeah, Polestar, 𝗖𝗧, or even 𝗖𝗓𝗡𝗘𝗖𝗧 could be part of that new deal as well, right? So there's, I think, a lot of good opportunities coming down the pipeline. And actually, my apologies, I was ranting and I forgot to move the screen over. Sorry about that. So this is what I was talking about. So you have Lucid, Aston Martin, 𝗖𝗧, 𝗖𝗓𝗡𝗘𝗖𝗧, Polestar. So this is what I was kind of explaining. I didn't realize I didn't have it up, but yeah, so there's a lot of good things coming down the pipeline for Lucid. Rob, I think there's a website all about Dream Drive updates. I'll have to find that, but I don't believe any significant ones. And during the last earnings, they didn't really, they said that when was that? Q3, that's the last time they brought up a big Dream Drive update that they brought or mentioned. So I don't think any. Ghost, I hope you're right. Once they start Gravity, $500 a share, that would be pretty epic. Not gonna lie. Honestly, Roaring Kitty can blow up any stock. So under my other channel, I cover Faraday, and I've been overly bearish on Faraday. I did a lot of videos saying, you know what, like, they are this close to bankruptcy, going under, and yeah, lo and behold, Roaring Kitty just does a post, Faraday, rocket ship, and lo and behold, this is where we are at. Faraday's just been absolutely a crazy hell stock, and for a company that was inches away from bankruptcy, as you can kind of see here, and also potentially delisting, for it to go to $3.90 as a high, very insane. So yeah, Roaring Kitty, even if he just types in the ticker Lucid, I feel like that in among itself will be sufficient for it to propel Lucid higher. But then again, it's very exciting, this, but it's not really good support. So kind of, it's a good, exciting part, but it's not really sustainable. So let me know your thoughts on Lucid, and I think that's pretty much going to wrap this up. Shareholder meeting didn't really last all that long as anticipated, but yeah, thanks for all joining in. You guys have a good rest of the day, and yeah, stay tuned. Have fun, guys.